Hey guys, Synchro here. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I've made up a positioning quiz. So basically how this is going to work is I'm going to show you a board. Here we've got enemy teams playing strikers, Hextech strikers, and we're playing Debonair's, Debonair Draven. So in this scenario, Draven is chosen, we'll say. We'll also say that Aurelia is on the socialite square. So Aurelia here is on Socialite, and obviously we're not playing Socialite, so that's not going to affect us. But what I want you to do is pause the video and think, how would you position these units so that we're going to have the best fight interaction possible? So pause it now, I'll give you a quick second before I move on to the next slide. Alrighty, so a couple of options here. Let's have a look at how this fight could play out. The first big thing you should notice is Camille's by herself over here. She's going to get swamped and die quite quickly. But the reason why she's placed here is so that Tom Kench, he's going to eat her instead of eating our high value tanks here instead. So that's why we've got Tom and Camille opposite each other. We want Camille to get eaten instead of our high value tanks. Of course, Silco is buffing our Braum, and Morgana, we're looking to try and get a Braum angle through to their backline. It's difficult to say whether that will happen. He could potentially ult the Sejuani instead, but obviously we're looking for an ult that looks something like that from the Braum. Whether we get it or not remains to be seen. The other big one is, if you'd noticed, Aurelia has Assassin Spat. So Aurelia is going to jump, and she's going to get forced onto this square here, where Leona is there to bait her. So Leona is a bodyguard. She's going to taunt the Aurelia into hitting her. So we'll have Draven able to free hit onto, first of all, it'll be the Sejuani or the Zac, most likely the Zac, and then after that, the Leona, the Aurelia. Uh, the other thing we've got is Syndra. Syndra is going to be throwing away the Aurelia, which I was debating whether to maybe not have Syndra throw away the Aurelia, maybe put her over here or something, because maybe we get Aurelia low and then throw her away and she lives. It's a tricky one, but here's one way you could do it. There is another way, and I reckon maybe this way is more consistent. We're pretty much just ignoring the Aurelia instead. We're not going to try and fight with her. We're going to let her just jump. So she's going to jump and then start pacing this way. Leona's going to start pacing this way. They're going to meet each other and she's going to get stuck on their Leona. The Syndra's still going to throw her away as well afterwards. So she's not going to be able to get to our backline too easily. We're still using the Camille to bait the Tahm Kench. And this time, Braum is pretty much guaranteed a nice ult angle. The only downside of this one is Morgana, she's pretty much going to auto, remember she has range, I think she has 2 range, so she's going to auto attack the Jarvan and then pretty much ult from there. So we're not going to get a lot of value out of Syndra in this, Syndra, out of Morgana in this fight. But we're going to have Leona. Leona's going to end up somewhere around this hex, maybe this hex, and she's going to end up tanking the Sejuani, the Zac, maybe even the Sivir. So, moving on to the next one. This time we're versing Syndicate Sniper player. We're playing Talon. Debonair, we're going to say for this one that Talon is indeed a Debonair, so he's got the VIP, he's doing bonus true damage. Pause the video here and take a look how you think you would position this one. I'll give you a couple seconds. Alrighty, so in this one, little bit janky when you look at it. It seems a little odd. Syndra's kind of up a bit, doing something a little odd. But let's go through it. So first of all, we've got our units all on the back line. That is so that when our assassins jump to their back line, his frontline units are going to walk forwards away from his backline, so they won't be able to help out their backline as much. So Leona is going to take a step forwards as well, and his units are probably going to end up on this row here instead, which is great. That means they're further away from our assassins who are taking apart his backline. The other thing to note is we've got Blitzcrank here. Some people would maybe put Blitzcrank here. It's an option. This is my thinking behind Blitzcrank on this side instead though. Talon, who has the rapid fire cannon, he's going to jump straight here on the back line. He's going to auto attack Syndra once, and Zyra is going to get auto attacked once and then hooked away. She's going to die to the bleed over here. Then he's immediately going to start hitting the Ashe, who of course is the unit we want to kill as quickly as possible. Kha'Zix, similar idea. You can't really control Kha'Zix as much. He's always going to jump to the lowest HP, so sometimes he can start on their carry and then jump to their tank. You don't do a lot about it. The other big one, Echo is just going into the biggest clump we can to try and get as much value out of his ult. But the other big one is Nocturne is going to come here, and we're trying to get him to CC this Orianna. Because a big weakness our comp has here is we don't have any CC immunity on our carries. So while they're sitting here, Orianna is going to ult this group because this is the biggest clump here, particularly if all our carries are here as well. So we want to try and stop Orianna from ulting. That is going to give us a much better chance of winning this fight. The other one you could also consider here is we've moved Syndra over this side. We're not positioning Syndra over here. That is because we don't want her to pick up the Galio. Galio is CC immune, so she's never gonna throw the Galio into their backline. So instead, we've moved Syndra over this side. So by the time Leona walks up one, Galio is gonna end up something like here, and Morgana is gonna end somewhere here. So Syndra is gonna throw the Morgana, not the Galio. That's the other thing to take into account there. Moving on. This one, we're versing your typical Challenger Warwick player. Again, we're playing Debonair Draven, we're going to say again. So this is again a Chosen or VIP Draven. Level 6. What do you guys think? Pause it here and see what you can do. Alrighty, so this one, little bit interesting. The main thing that sticks out is this Draven is here by himself. Now, why is that? The reason why he is by himself and not with the Zillion and the Syndra is that Quinn is going to use her ult on the highest attack speed target. So she's going to throw her ult through and then it's going to do splash damage around the Draven. If we have these guys all clumped up, they're also going to take the damage and they're going to be CC'd. So instead, we're moving the Draven away to try and keep these units alive. We've also got Darius here. He's solo frontlining. That's so that when Zac walks forwards, and then we get Tryndamere and Warwick walking forwards, he's going to get all the attention on him. He's got all the tank items, and then he gets the best ult off possible as well. Leona's not too far away though, but when the combat does start and she walks forward, she will get into range to ult for the Darius to give the Darius the bonuses. And Camille, you pretty much this is the only place you can put her. You don't really want to put her back here because we want as many people hitting the Darius as possible, and we don't want her getting clipped by the Quinn ult or anything like that. So that's why Quinn's on that side. The Syndra, it's whatever. She's going to throw the Zac. We don't obviously want her picking up Warwick because he's got the QSS, but this is probably the best place for the Syndra. You could maybe argue that Syndra could maybe go up here, something like that, to really make sure that she gets away from the Warwick. It's something to think about. Alright, moving on. Alrighty, so this one, a couple of things to note. We're versing Enchanted Snipers. This guy's got 3-star Jhin. So very strong carry here. We're playing the Yordle, or Veigar should I say, here. That represents Tibbers because we're playing 5 Innovators here. So I've just thrown in Veigar to represent the Tibbers. Take a look here, pause it. What do you think is the best positioning? Oh, before I forget actually, Socialite is this hex here as well. Take a pause and what do you think? Alrighty. So, let me clear the screen. The little trick you might have noticed is that Blitzcrank, he had Zephyr on him. So what you can do is you think that the Jhin is safe here on the Socialite Hex and he's surrounded. So Blitzcrank, he can never get an angle to hook him. But If you Zephyr the Ash here, the Ash is going to get cancelled out. The next closest unit is now the Jin. So the Jin is going to get hooked here, which is perfect because he is their main damage. He's got all the damage items there. So Jin's going to get hooked in, and then we've got our carries set up here to start hitting the Jin immediately and kill him before he can get an ult off and wipe our team. The other thing to notice is you've got Echo just jumping into the biggest clump afterwards. And we've got Singed on the left hand side on the where the Braum is instead of on the right hand side where the Galio is. If we put Singed on the right hand side, he's going to try and fling the Galio, and Galio is immune to CC, so he's not going to end up in the back line. So that's why we're positioned like this. We've also put Jace. You could maybe argue for Jace in the back line here. I was thinking about that as well, or here instead and swap around with the Ezreal so that you have more damage on the Jin. I think that's definitely an option. My thinking was to keep the Singed alive to get the fling off, but I think you could certainly put the Jace in the back line. And then we've got Braum here. The idea is to try and get an angle something like this. Pretty much this is the only one we don't want. It happens though. He's playing bodyguard, so it's more likely that the Braum's going to go this way. But we want him here to take as much of the damage as possible, and we don't want Singed on this side. So, alrighty. Wonder if you guys got that Zephyr one. That's a good little trick to know. Moving on. I think this is our last one here. So, we've got the classic Twitch reroll player. This again is the Innovator Crab this time because he's actually playing 4 Innovators, but there's no bear. So that's the Crab, don't forget. We're playing Warwick reroll or challenges. And we'll say for this one, we've got 2-star Quinn, 2-star Warwick, nothing 3-star, but he does have a 3-star Twitch. So pause it. What do you think? Alrighty. So there's a couple of options with this one. This one is probably what I think the most common thing people would do. They think I'm versing assassins. I'm gonna backline my tanks. Well, not backline. I'm gonna corner my carries and then second row my tanks to protect my carries. If we look at how this fight plays out, I'm not sure that this is even a very good position because Twitch is most likely going to land here. The Zac is going to walk forward, the Warwick's going to walk forward, the Trinity is going to walk forward. So they're going to end up on these squares here, and then their team is probably going to end up on these squares here. So Twitch is only going to have Camille hitting him to begin with, and he's going to have a lineup there. His ult's going to go through all of our carries. So I'm not even sure if this is the best positioning. We could win this fight maybe, but it's a 3-star Twitch. So let's have a look at some other options. This is another one I was looking at. This is probably a little bit too fancy. I think there's a better one than this, but let's just have a look what could potentially happen here. Now, notice we've got Warwick on the left-hand side here. That is because we want to bait the Singed into flipping the Warwick. He's got QSS, so our Warwick will never get flung because we don't want our backline to get CC because they're trying to kill this Twitch as quickly as possible. So what's happening with this backline setup? We've got all of them in the middle. The idea is that the Twitch is going to land on one of these 2 squares here, and then Camille is going to aggro onto him. Hopefully, that's the plan. And then once we work through whoever, our carries are never going to start on the Twitch. Our carries are going to start on most likely one of these 2 units. Once they work through them, then they're going to swap to Twitch. The idea is that Zillion is going to bomb the Twitch, which is then going to give us the time we need to work through one of their front lines and then get onto the Twitch. The other thing is that Twitch is his highest attack speed carry, so Quinn is always going to be ulting the Twitch as well. She does have Chemtech Spat as well, which is going to make her a little bit tankier. Won't mean that the Twitch can kill her, in just one ult rotation. But again, I'm not certain. The other thing to note is that we've got Zac here to grip the Twitch. That's why he's positioned like this. The idea is that he's going to turn around and grip the Twitch. Now, maybe he would grab the Echo, but the Twitch is slightly further away and still within his range. So we're trying to pile our CC up on this Twitch. That's the thinking there. There's one more one more option that I came up with. And this one, we're pretty much just forcing the Twitch into a place in front of our in front of our tanks. So pretty obvious what's going to happen here. Twitch and Echo are both going to jump through, and then immediately our tanks can aggro onto them. This is probably the best positioning, I would say. The only thing is if this is level 6 and we don't know for sure we're versing this player, it is kind of troll positioning on if we're versing other types of people, particularly if they're playing assassins that are going to jump, here. But if we know for sure this is the guy we're playing, I think this is probably the most optimal positioning. I'd like to know how you guys went. If you could let me know what score you got. You might have got slightly different positioning than me as well, but the main thing is that you're thinking like, why are the units going there? There's a reason for it. How are they going to interact with the rest of the units in the fight? So let me know what you think of this format. I thought it was something a little different, a little bit of fun. I've never seen anyone do this kind of thing before, but it's a really good practice to jump in the builder, build a couple comps and think, how would I beat this player? Yeah, so let me know, guys, what you think of it. And if you didn't know, I am giving away free coaching for a limited time. So if you were interested in a coaching session with me, check out the description. And yeah, hit me up. We'll do a session together. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.